listening to, I say you are listening to, you are absolutely listening to the George Espenlaub Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm. Now, with no further ado, here comes Georgie!
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Yeah, that's Espenlaub's big mouth. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, everyone. Hey, listen to me. You're listening to the George Espenlaub Show, coming to you live from the Funny Farm in a place called Our World. This is our world. It's a lot safer here than it is in yours. But I want you to know, whether you're down the street, around the corner, across America, or somewhere around this world, we want you to sit back tonight. Yep, sit back tonight, because we have a great show planned for you. We want you to sit back and listen. I mean, really, really listen. I hope that by the time this show is over tonight, you're spitting sideways. I really do. If you don't know what spitting sideways is, that's when you're really riled up. Yeah, you laugh, but I'm telling you the truth. When you spit sideways, you're really riled up. And I hope that you get that way tonight. We have two goals in mind here on the show. We say it mostly every night that we're on the air. Number one is to make you smile, to lift some burdens up off your shoulders for a while. We don't know what you're going through, but we all know that life isn't always easy. And if we can bring a smile to your lips just for a few moments, then we're happy. Now, if we can make you laugh, we'll really be happy. Just to lighten your load. That's what it's all about. We're here to lighten the load. Now, the second thing is this. We want to make you just as goofy. As soon as I say that word goofy, these people around here laugh. We want to make you just as goofy as the rest of us. Now remember, we won't be responsible for any side effects that take place while you're listening to this show, or what might happen to you later on down the road. Sometimes it takes a little longer to have an effect on different people. But we won't be responsible for that. But if we can make you just as goofy as the rest of us, we're all very happy. Oh, my, oh, my, oh, my. I do have to say this before we go any further. Let me reach over here and get my stuff. All right. On September 21st, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., here in Laurel, Delaware, the Laurel Fire Department is having their third annual Dancing Through the Decades. And it's a benefit for the Delaware Burn Camp. Now, if you're in this area, you more than likely know where the Laurel Firehouse is. But let me give it to you just in case you don't know. 205 Railroad Avenue here in Laurel, Delaware. Music will be provided by DJ Brian Pettyjohn. That's Saturday, September 21st, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Tickets are $10 per person. Children 6 to 12, $5. Children under 6 is free. Now, ticket purchase includes voucher for one dinner platter, additional food, drinks, and cupcakes available for purchase. Featuring cupcakes by Three Little Birds Cupcakery. I like that word, cupcakery. So that's the third annual Dancing Through the Decades at the Laurel Fire Department. Saturday, September 21st, 7 to 10 p.m. Ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, we're bringing on a man by the name of Ed Temple. Ed was with us a month or so ago. He has written a book, School Choice, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. And we wanted to bring him back, find out where he's at now, what has happened, and just start back where we started in the beginning. Ed, it's good to have you back, my friend.
So glad for you to have me back. I enjoyed myself the last time, looking forward to a great time this time.
Ed, for those that are first-time listeners or missed the show last time, give us a little background of yourself.
Well, starting in the about 1997, actually before that, even before that, a few years before that, I started doing some student teaching in an affluent neighborhood in Ohio. Went from there to do some student teaching in Pennsylvania in one of the two poorest districts in the state of Pennsylvania. Moved to Florida, taught in a rural area, very poor area of the state. And from there went to the biggest district in central Ohio and taught there for nearly 2 decades. And now I am teaching at a private Christian school. And what I have figured out is that it is immoral for me not to speak out against the students not having the options. Students need to have options because it is really unfair what they are missing, and not just what they're missing, but what they're going through in many of the public schools. And it is if people knew what was going on, and I tried to get it exposed, couldn't get anybody from the news to come in to expose it, but there are so many things going on that never makes the news. It is scary.
What was some of the results as you were trying to expose certain things? What were some of those things, and what was some of the results?
Well, some of those things I tried to expose. For example, I'll give you a little example. One was I was trying to allow the administrative staff to know that we had, or part of what we had with a gang problem. And I would report it. They blew it off as if it never existed. And it wasn't too long after many times that I had been reporting it that we had several kids that were killed at the school. So 2 of the kids that killed 2 other kids were both in my class, and the 2 of the kids that were killed were also in my class. And that was the shooting and the fear of being shot and the gang violence and the constant daily fighting or talk of a fight wasn't just at my school. Every time I went to a teacher in service, they would say the same things were going on at their school. So it wasn't like we were singled out. It's just a daily routine of fear. And of course, when there's this much chaos, very little education can take place. And of course, what's the result of that? They fudge the numbers.
So what or why? I mean, when they see this, they're made aware of it. They know that it's going on. They know it's taking place. Why isn't there something done?
Well, I think at this point they're just too far gone. There's a lot of reasons, and that's what the book is about. It takes me 13 chapters to explain why there's a need for school choice, and because there's a lot that goes on into it. For example, there's an unholy relationship between the unions and the Democratic Party, for example. And I'll give you an example. They give us flyers and tell us who to vote for. Not one time in over 2 decades, did I ever see anyone other than a Democrat on the list of those to vote for. So that's pretty clear, who's in their pocket. And of course, if you watched different presidential elections, you'll see the biggest supporters financially. You can see them in the crowd, but you can also, it's public record, the biggest supporters of political candidates, in particular the Democratic Party, are the unions, the 2 major teachers unions. And so that relationship, what do they you don't pay off politicians for no return. You know you're getting a return. And the return is they get to suffocate kids by not allowing them to escape the really horrendous situation that many of them have to suffer through. And as I had on one of my shows, even in the affluent neighborhoods, it is difficult for many of those students just to live out their Christian lives, for example. So there's religious persecution as well as a threat to people's lives. And then, of course, you're hearing on a daily basis all the other issues going on in schools with the drug and suicide problem and now vaping. It's just one thing after another because of the lack of morality.
And ladies and gentlemen, Ed has written the book. Ed, you tell us the name of the book and where people can find it.
Yeah, the name of the book is Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. The book is it's at textbook stores. As a matter of fact, it's actually on textbooks.com. I believe it's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Noble, christianbooks.com. Many sites. Amazon has all 4 versions. Most of the bookstores have at least the 2 book versions. There's an audio book, there's a Kindle, paperback, and a hardback, but all kinds of online stores. Actually, Target sells it, Walmart sells it. A whole host of stores all over the country, as a matter of fact, sell the book. And so it's not just
one to pick up a copy of this book, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. And we got this crazy thing going around. Okay, it's stopped. Okay, we got it. Ed, tell me something.
Yes. Say that again?
You faced some persecution because you were a Christian. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I'll give you some simple examples. I talk about this in a book as well, but one example was when I was teaching history, we were teaching something that was actually part of the curriculum in pretty much every teacher's curriculum in the country, which is a Scopes trial. We did a mock trial with the Scopes trial, and I get called in the office because 2 students were offended that the fact that a discussion about the Bible, in the Scopes trial, the discussion about creation was insulting them, and that was offensive to them, and so therefore we should not be allowed to do that. And now it came close to the only reason why it was overruled was because it was part of the curriculum guide. Otherwise, I would have been in trouble with a mark on my record, and the kids would not have been allowed to learn that. And that's just one example. There's many other.
So there is a lot of teachers within the education fold, a lot of good people, right?
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of teachers, and they're afraid to speak out. Because they know that the union will not defend you if they find out that you are on the side of Christian beliefs. They defend everything but, and we find that out. You just look at the people that end up in trouble. They put the weakest defense they can, and of course, since I have connections to the administration has. Will reveal to you that they make deals with the union before there's ever a hearing. So the hearing is just a facade. Mm-hmm. And so the Christians are in trouble in public schools.
So you lasted how long?
Oh, it was over 20 years in the public schools. And to be honest with you, the smaller schools, in particular in Florida, wasn't as big of a deal. As a matter of fact, there were some teachers that had, were very devout Christians and openly, and it wasn't a problem. But up in the north, up here in the several states up north, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and other states in between. But up here, it seems to be much more of a problem to even acknowledge the existence of the possibility of a creator, or if you have any opinion that doesn't go with the flow of the progressive intent of schools. To this day, they are getting worse and worse about, trying to propagate certain agenda. And kids, it's very difficult to feel comfortable in school now because every word just about is deemed as offensive.
I heard you on a show the other night, and I can't remember exactly. Of course, I'm known for that anymore, but I can't remember exactly. But you said something along the lines about a conspiracy. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, there seems to be there's a conspiracy. It seems to be let's put it this way. I just had Diane Ravitch is the leading author in the anti-school choice movement, and of course she put her kids in private schools, but she speaks out against kids being able to leave the public schools. And she and another one that was another individual that is a teacher are tag teaming me, and their basic argument is they don't trust parents. Now, they won't come out and say those words, but if I ask them, do you trust the parents? They never respond to it. They don't trust the parents. They believe that kids ought to be stuck in the public schools. And I asked them point blank, would you take your child out if the kid was in physical danger in that school? They won't answer the question. The only thing they say is it's taking money from the public schools when you have school choice. And of course, and their next line of reasoning is that it is hurting the schools, when the evidence actually says the opposite. When public schools are faced with school choice, they actually improve, and the kids' lives in both school systems improve. So the idea that if a student leaves, they lose money, well, they don't lose money because they're not educating that kid anymore. And the way it stands right now, they actually gain money because the property taxes in most cases are still kept at the public school level, and only the state taxes follow the student. I'd like to change that. I think all the money ought to follow the student, not just the state. But as it is, they actually make a profit when the kid leaves.
I was thinking this afternoon.
So that's where we're at.
I was thinking about history. And I just, wandering around in my little head. And I was thinking, any time that a nation, big or small, big country, little country, somewhere in between, any time that it fell into socialism, dictatorship, they were ruled by an upper class. One of the first things that they did was to indoctrinate, I'll use that word, indoctrinate the youth. And over a period of time, maybe not today, next week, next year, but over a period of time, that indoctrination takes root in those little minds. And those little minds, because they've been taught over and over and over and over what somebody wants them to learn as far as the bad things go, not so kosher things. And that's exactly because I'm going to be 71 here in a couple weeks. So I've been down the street a few times, and I look at and I know people always say, yeah, you're always looking back, Pop, this and that. But look, I can remember a time in this country when I went to school that every morning the homeroom teacher would read from the Bible. Now, if it offended you, if you got bent out of shape, that's another story. But then we would pledge allegiance to the flag and we would say the Lord's Prayer. Was there some people in the classrooms that didn't agree with that kind of thought? Yep. But they stood and they were respectful. And we respected them. And over a period of time, I've watched it disintegrate. And I say with all my heart, somewhere back down the road, the textbooks started to change. The philosophy started to change. Am I on the right path there, Ed?
Yes, you are. You can go back to the different court cases where the prayer.
Ed, the old whammy has hit us tonight. It's trying. Yep, somebody in the chat room said don't have any sound right now. Now we're back. Look, we're going to muscle through this thing, Ed. We're just going to keep it going. You're still with me, right? Did we lose Ed? All right, I hope he calls us back. Ugh. Now that'll make you spit sideways. Yep, we got it now. I see that, Lori. But we lost Mr. Ed. I hope he calls us back. All right. My, oh, my, oh, my, oh, my. I can't remember if that happened the last time he was on or not. But look, Ed's talking about school choice. And he wrote this fantabulous book. That's an Espenlaub word. He wrote this fantabulous book about school choice, parents having the choice. Now look, in Delaware, you have school choice. If you want to leave, let's say in this particular area, if you want to leave Laurel and go to Del Mar, you can do so. And the tax dollars go with you. So it leaves Laurel District, it goes to Del Mar District. If you want to go from Laurel to Georgetown, same. If you go to a charter school, then the tax dollars follow you. But if you go to a Christian school, it don't come with you. No. It don't come with you. So when Ed wrote his book, and I hope he calls back, but when Ed wrote his book about school choice, his whole purpose behind it was where the kid goes, the money goes. Some people call them vouchers, whatever you want to call it. But wherever that child goes, wherever that parent so chooses to put that child, then the tax dollars goes. Here he comes. Boy, Ed, we just we took a shot, but we're back up.
Okay. All
righty. I was telling you when you went away, I was talking to you, but you wasn't there. Anyhow, we're going to muscle this thing through, regardless of what comes. We're going to muscle our way through this thing if we have to.
Okay.
So, all right, where were we at?
Well, I think I just got done talking about the fact that it seems as if that schools are, they've gone downhill ever since the court cases that got rid of school prayer and got rid of the Bible, and that the fact is that schools aren't going to go back to bringing the Bible in. I'm pretty sure of that, with a few exceptions, maybe in Alabama, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And so for those that actually want to go to a school that has an emphasis on morality, character development, and so on, the parents ought to be able to take their tax money and go to a school of their choice with their money. And so that seems to be pretty simple. The statistics are that both Democrats and Republican parents agree with school choice. So I don't see, not real sure. Actually, I know why. It just gets hung up all the time because the unions are in the pocket of too many of these political leaders and political parties.
I think people need to understand, and you and I talked about this, I think people need to understand, or maybe I should say people need to understand that this is a battle we're fighting. I mean, this is no little Parcheesi game that we're playing, or we're not sitting around playing tiddlywinks or dominoes. I mean, this is a real battle that we're going through. But yet people act like, they're walking out in the middle of the battlefield and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and it's all hot, and they don't even realize they're in the middle of a battlefield. So I think that's where it needs to start. But Ed, how?
I think people are getting numb to it.
Yeah, how can we wake people up?
Well, I tell you one thing that would be, as far as I saw it, would be real easy, is just get a camera in the school. Just get it in the hallway. Just let people see what just goes on in the hall, let alone in the classroom. And every time something gets exposed, it becomes viral and it makes all kinds of news when a kid does it. But the kind of things you see on TV that go viral are everyday occurrences in many public schools.
Uh-huh.
And that doesn't even include what else happens that doesn't make the news. I think I talked last time about there was a time when a kid brought a gun and a knife into school, never made the news, and they didn't even tell the teachers about it. Mm. So it was under lock and key. We had to hear about it in a roundabout way. They just let things go through, and it doesn't even get touched. And unless it makes headline news, very little is done about it. I have seen so many things. I mean, it's appalling. And some things I probably wouldn't even put out there, just because it is too bad. It's too much for people to understand, and they wouldn't believe me if I told them. It's just right now. It's, if you want to stay in a public school, it's an option. I mean, school choice. What's funny about it, the people that are in the public schools, they automatically assume that when you say school choice, that you want to take them out of their schools, which tells you a lot. Mm-hmm. They know that if given the choice, the kids would leave. The parents would take them out if they knew any better. And so right now, they don't even want the information out there, let alone getting the choice. They'd rather you not know about it. Very few people are informed about the idea of school choice. Many districts are, little by little, states are starting to open up to school choice, and many people don't take up on the opportunity because they don't know how to get it. Mm-hmm. So they need, they need to be more informed about it.
They, here in our state, people, there's kids in our community that goes to another school district, and then there's kids in other school districts that come to our school district. So, people say, "Oh, yeah, we've got a school choice state, yippee, 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 yippee." But if they go to a Christian school, now if they go to a charter school, the money will go with them. But if they go to a Christian school, that's a no-no. So people aren't informed fully of what this thing is, right?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's the biggest paradox, is because if you poll people and you ask them why they want school choice, the number one answer is because the families want to have an environment where they actually get to hear about God. I mean, that Chicago Tribune did a story about that. And, of course, the number one reason on the other side, people like Diane Ravitch, the number one reason they want to keep you from getting a school voucher or to have educational choice, the number one reason they want to keep you from it is because they don't want you to be offered a choice about religion. So, in other words, they don't want you knowing about religion unless it's their religion, like their macroevolution religion or their paganism religion that they teach in the books and so on. So it's a very interesting, and they're not just fighting against school choice. They're fighting against the idea that you can say that there is a God. So it's bigger than what you think. Because ironically, they pick with charter schools too, but they're starting to ease up on them. But they pick with them, and they're public schools. They're publicly funded schools, and that are critiqued a whole lot more than a public school are.
The battle for the mind. The enemy is always going after the mind. If you get the mind, you got somebody. Now, there's another thing. When I talked to a certain individual not too long ago, here in Delaware, it was suggested, I don't like that word, but anyhow, it was suggested that, school vouchers be given to people that wants to send their kids to a Christian school, so blah, 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 so on and so forth. It never made it out of committee. Okay. So nobody goes back and tries again? Couldn't get no one in the other party to vote yes. Okay. So whatever's broken stays broken. But if we did that, if we did this, now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, and countrymen, lend me your ear, but get a hold of your socks, because this will want to blow them off. If we did that, the State Department of Education would crumble. And my words were this: oh, that's too bad.
Exactly.
So, you and I were talking earlier. The people on the other side has no problems of mounting up and storming and demanding abortion. They don't have any problems standing up and talking about gay rights and this and that and all the other things. But
they do not allow. They won't hire folks except, and the only way they'll hire you is if you have any kind of value system based on biblical principles. You're not in the game. So you have to pretend, or at least you have to pretend you're neutral and play along. Otherwise, you're not going to be working for them. And if you do, you're not going to feel comfortable there. They're going to run you out of there. And of course, the students know that as well. They know which words are allowed and which aren't allowed. And you can say anything about anybody, but if you say any of the words that are the most offensive, and we all know what those offensive words are. Once those offended people get upset, it doesn't matter who you are. That's the worst word right now in the public schools, are those that are the politically correct or incorrect words right now that are being shoved down everybody's throats, because they're pushing this agenda as hard as they can, and anyone that gets in their way, they're going to go down. I mean, this is what they want. They want to control the schools, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. They've done a good job of it, then convincing people they should stay stuck in those schools for some reason.
For you that are listening, we're going to fight our way through it, Ed. If it don't, I think we just lost. Did I lose you? I did. My, oh my, we lost them again. My goodness gracious. All right. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We'll let them call back again. But anyhow, get this book. Get this book. We had this fight, I don't know how long it's been. There he comes. There he comes. Ed, I apologize. We're back up and running. We're back up and running.
Okay.
I apologize. Didn't we have this problem last time you were on?
Yeah, we did. You never know. I live in, I work in the big city, but I live in the country, and you never know if I'm, if the phone's going to cut out. Very few cell services work out here, and you move in the house a little bit, and it'll cut you out.
It's not so much on your end as it is on the actual internet side of things, because just all of a sudden the live light goes out and you get a red dooflicky going around. That tells you we're trying to connect again.
Okay.
And it doesn't usually happen. We've had a couple problems, but tonight for some reason it wants to be squirrely. So, but we're going to fight it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it up. We'll just keep pushing buttons and pulling knobs. We'll get something. But
whatever it takes.
So you're saying that with school choice, it's not enough just to be able to choose one public school over another public school. Parents should be able to choose what school they want them to go. If it be a Christian school, the tax-paying dollars goes right behind the child or right with the child, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, the way it's set up right now, I don't. There is not a school system right now that I would trust sending my kid to, just because of what I know, what goes on, and the kind of things that they're teaching. And Common Core, even though it's a lot of states pretended they took it out, they pretty much kept it in. They just repackaged it, renamed it. And the Common Core is a very, very much a one-sided, very much a propaganda machine. It's a tool. And I believe mathematically it made so little sense of what they were teaching that the only explanation I could find for why they would do that is just to try to ruin the ability of homeschoolers. That's the only thing I could think of, because no teacher agreed. The teachers didn't agree with Common Core, couldn't find one to agree with it. And parents didn't, and engineers didn't, and nobody that took a look at the curriculum said, whoa, this is good stuff. It was a terrible idea. And same thing goes with even the literature. They took out all the classics, and they put all this, things that, are not in the same category. It was somewhat embarrassing. So, right now the public school is in pretty bad shape in many different ways, but morality is probably maybe top of the list. So even a school that's doing a great job academically and everybody's getting scores like flying colors, what do the scores mean? That they can take a test? That's great. But how many are prepared for the real world? How many have the moral character? How many have the skills that it takes to actually be a good citizen? Not just to pass a test, to be able to think on their feet and so on and so forth, and to have a well-rounded education, not just one that kids learn out of fear of not challenging the system, fear of just, learning to play the game themselves, just like the teachers have to play the game within the system. So everybody is, you're having kids that are coming out of school that, you can just look right now. Look who's one of the top candidates of the Democratic Party. He's a socialist. Now, who would have ever thought? Used to put people in this country, you would put people in jail that hinted they were communists and Marxists. And this guy is clearly admits proudly he's a Marxist. So it's pretty scary that we're in times right now where this is just acceptable, which tells you how they've been taught. And these are people coming out of, the Ivy Leagues that agree with Bernie Sanders and people like him. It's a little spooky. It's like we're in the Twilight Zone or something, that people don't, even if they know the history to pass a test, they're clearly not understanding the history. That we have to learn from history, not repeat it.
Do you feel that there's a spirit of apathy, for lack of a better term, a spirit of apathy that's fallen down upon this country, where people more or less say, well, they're going to school, they'll be all right. I turned out all right. Do you feel that there's a spirit of apathy in this country?
Yeah, there is, in particular with those that support having no school choice. Just the lady today was going back and forth, and she has kids herself, and she's a teacher, and it's just interesting because she went back and forth. Said, the only thing she was concerned about was hurting the system. Never once was the individual mentioned. Only the system. We don't want to hurt the system.
Uh-huh.
How can you hurt a system that's broken the way it's broken? You're not hurting the system.
Right.
And even if you hurt the system, maybe hurting the system is what it needs. It needs to shape up or ship out, just like everybody else. We have to improve, or we fall. We have, it's just the way it is. It's called human nature. So we have to, we should, as a society, not be propping things up that are in a state of constant failure. We have to try to. If things aren't going to work after, 20 or 30 years, at some point you have to say, you know what, maybe we might want to do something different.
But the thing that I got today, and I've known it for a long, long time, that's broke, and there's nothing we can do about that. But let's go over here and see if we can fix this thing. So... Poor Ed, he must have moved. No, here we go again. Oh, my goodness gracious. Are you there?
We're back in business.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if it's broke, we'll just let it broke, and we'll try to go over here and get together and see if we can fix something else that's broke. I mean, my goodness gracious, man. Society's broke. The homes are broke. The financial system's broke. I mean, everywhere you look, things are broke. So, well, we're just going to let it all fall down?
Too.
Yeah. Do you feel that intimidation plays a big part in a lot of this stuff?
Yeah, it does, actually. The intimidation is real. I can tell you that I give you just little things that there's intimidation. One of the things I got called to the carpet on was, you have a high failure rate. I said, well, you want me to just pass them along, or do they have to do their work? So I had a policy with kids. I said, if you miss something, just come in. I'll give you an alternative assignment. But we're not going to do this turning in things late all the time. And so I told a parent, when a parent would come in, I'd say, listen, if your kid doesn't get an A in my class, then that's because they chose not to do their work, because I'll give them every opportunity to get their grade up. And so for whatever reason, had some class or two that just said, we're not going to do anything. And I got pressured into passing them. They told me, basically, you have one of the highest failure rates. Of course, that was 1 year. There's been years where, the kids did great. But that was a year where there was just a significant number. In the district at the time, the failure rate was 50%. So I was actually, as far as the district goes, I was actually higher than the district. But they, at our school, they wanted to pass everybody along. And so the pressure comes right there. And then, of course, there's pressure, about everything you can think of as far as, I've watched principals add subjects the day of the grading period ended just so they'd have enough credits to play a sport. There's a lot of shady things that go on. They change grades, they brag about it, and some of them get in trouble and some of them don't. But there's just a lot of corruption, a lot of fudging numbers. You ought to see the number of kids that come in late every day to school. It's enormous. We're talking, in a typical public school, you're probably 25 to 50% come late. And in a significant number, their graduation rates they might say they're 70-some%, but if you look at the number that started in the school their freshman year and see how many graduated, that number would be far lower. We would have 250 freshmen, and by the time they were seniors, about 37 would graduate. So it's a huge drop-off.
So let's see if I get this right. The school district doesn't want you to know all about school choice. Part of it is enough. The teachers union gets all bent and twisted out of shape when it's mentioned in its fullest term. Politicians don't want to really talk about it because that really puts them on the spot. A lot of parents don't know what's going on. And so here we are, Ed. Just
right.
Here we are.
Yeah, it is a spooky situation. And it's just it is flabbergasting how there's a huge support for school choice, yet people keep voting in office. They the citizens keep voting for people that are going against their best interests. So it just makes no sense, that until we get enough people that vote Democrat, until we get enough of them to start saying, you know what, these politicians that are Democrats need to start listening to us. That we want school choice. We have a high number of kids in these schools that are failing, and we want our kids to have the best opportunities. One of the ladies that was picking with me on Twitter today, she's all for the public schools, and I'm all for good public schools, but I'm also for all schools that I want the kids to make the best choice, for the parents to make the best choice for their kid. And she, I had done a voice text, which I often do, and she was picking with my grammar, and I said, and she said, "Where did you go to school?" And I said, "The public schools." So totally backfired on her.
That was a good answer, Ed. That was a good answer.
Needless to say, she had no comeback for that one.
Well, I don't think she could. No, that was a good one. My oh my! I lost my whole train of thought. My train went clear off the track when you said that. Oh my goodness gracious! So, ladies and gentlemen, get that book. Please get the book, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. Now, when people feel that the cause is urgent enough, people will mount up and do something. And I'll give you an example. One lady, Madeline O'Hara, mounted up, and it ended up that prayer and Bible reading was removed from the public schools.
Yes.
The church.
And ironically, that woman's son became a preacher.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. The church, the Christians, the upright people, we sat back and just left it happen. We, in the first place, it was like, no, that'll never happen. Well, lo and behold, it did happen. And I think that it's time, and I have no idea. I mean, you can't go around grabbing people by the throat and shaking them and saying, look, wake up, wake up, wake up. That'll get you in trouble. And besides, there's too many people you'd have to wake up. You'd wear yourself out. Ladies and gentlemen, stop and think of what this man is saying. He's been there. He's done that. He knows. The teachers' union, how threatening is it, Ed?
The teachers' union has a whole lot of power, and they will not defend you. At least if they do defend you, it will be a lack of a defense. But they'll defend you if you're doing horrible things, and you will never lose your job for that. But if you're doing what you're supposed to do, and and they feel like you're not in their political ideology, they won't defend you. And of course, once they don't defend you, the district can kind of do what they want with you. Which is why you have a whole, big districts are having enormous numbers. I mean, the rate of dropping off teachers, first-year teachers in big cities it's like a 50% drop-off rate. It's a huge number.
Do you think, because this didn't happen overnight, I mean, it wasn't here one day and going to next. I mean, this was a slow, steady process. Don't you think this thing happened like you throw the frog in the lukewarm water or in the cold water and you heat it up, and over a period of time you got the frog? You think that's what happened?
Yeah. I think you're seeing a backlash there because it has grown to the point now where even the millennials have grown tired of it, and if you look on surveys, they're tired of the indoctrination themselves, and so hopefully with them and maybe lighting a fire under their parents that get things going. I think one thing I know about districts is when parents get involved, they back down. The district doesn't know how to handle it when parents, show a little bit of outrage. And so that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to say enough is enough, because if they don't, things are just going to keep going on the way they are. They're going to have to take a stand eventually, because the politicians they're too in the pocket. Only way you can get through them or get them out, get them back on track is to vote them out of office. I mean, the ones that are in are taking the bribes, and they're giving the unions whatever they want. So something has to be done.
You know, you're absolutely right. When people get riled up and they start going to these school board meetings and visiting the administration building in the district, all of a sudden people sit up and take notice and say, "Uh-oh, maybe we better stop that." So, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Wherever you're at, pay attention. Pay attention. Ed, in your experience when you was in the public school, how often, I guess it depended where you was at, but how often would a parent or parents drop in on the school and just to see how things are going in the classrooms and so on?
I can say this, not very many. As a matter of fact, I can tell you this, the ones that did had a lot better behaved child. But the ones that, for the most part, we would have parent conferences, and every quarter you have parent conferences, and my average was probably one or two, and I probably had upwards of 150 to 180 students, and maybe one or two came in, and the ones that came in were the better students. So you never got in touch with the ones that were that needed redirected. So you just got, the ones that were the A student, maybe A, B student, comes into parent conferences, and very few others.
And that's that spirit of apathy. Well, they're at school now, and schools, for the most part, in too many places, has just become one great big daycare center. You send them there in the morning, and oh boy, here they come home again. So I've seen parents, I've experienced it, parents that was absolutely upset because there was a day off. Whether it was a holiday or a day off because the teachers had school but the kids were off, they'd be upset because their kid was going to be home. So I could see where all that was coming from. So, ladies and gentlemen, please get Ed's book. Listen, and he told me, it's not about selling the book. It's about getting the information out there. That's what it's all about. My goodness gracious, Aunt Sally, we've got to wake up. We have to wake up. If you don't do it, and I don't do it, and we can't wake our buddy up that's to the right and to the left of us, it's not going to get done. It's not going to get better. It's just going to get progressively worse. And we got men like Ed Temple that's standing up. He's been there. He's done that. He's teaching in a Christian school now. He's taking the time to write this book. Get the book, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. Read it. Pass it on. Tell other people. Tell other people to listen to the show. They can go back any time and listen to it. But tell them that people need to be made aware of what's going on. Take the time and visit the school. Just walk in and tell them, hey, I'm here. Why don't you show me around? I'd like to see what's going on. If they know that people's coming and somebody got an eyeball on them here and there, things are going to straighten up.
For sure.
They might not be as obvious, but people will start crossing their T's and dotting their I's, won't they, Ed?
Oh, no doubt about that. It's amazing how much different it is when the school is made accountable. And it's very rare, but when they are made accountable, you'll see changes. That's exactly what has to happen.
How many people have you run into, and we'll close this out, but how many people have you run into that has said, I'd love to send my kid to that Christian school down the street or around the corner, but I just can't.
Well, let's put it this way.
I just can't afford it.
Well, right. I have a whole football league of them there. They constantly try to get me to help get them in the Christian school that I'm at, because of all the drama that they're constantly dealing with. I mean, it's on an ongoing, whether it's their phones being stolen or they're in another fight, or the answer for the public schools right now is suspend, no matter what it is, just suspend. Kid defends himself, he's suspended too. Mm-hmm. He puts up his hands. As soon as he puts up his hands to defend himself, he was part of the fight, so he's suspended. It doesn't. I mean, it's just it is a bad situation, and of course, it takes about half the period to get kids settled down. ever instruct. And it is a madhouse right now. It needs to change. And those kids, it's not their fault. I mean, it's their fault of the adults that's letting it happen. And the fact is, a lot of those kids would be well served leaving out of there instead of becoming part of the environment. They need to escape the environment so they have a chance. A lot of them are going to have very little chance of making it outside of school until they are shown the bigger picture of what life's all about, and it's not just a constant battle of surviving. There's actually things out there that they can explore, they can do, they can learn, they can become.
And ladies and gentlemen, get a hold of these legislators in your state. Get a hold of them. I mean, call them, email them, visit them, drop in on them, do whatever it takes, but get their attention. Listen, here's how it goes. As long as parents and caregivers to the children, as long as they're just silent and just going about their business and this spirit of apathy's falling down upon them, you know what? That's taking them right off the hook. Now remember something. People that's in elected office is not your leader. Remember that. They call them our leaders, our leader. They're not our leaders. They are our representative. We, the people, picked that person out of our group and said, okay, you go represent us and listen to us while you're there because you're working for us. So get on these people. I mean, call them. Just write them an email. Write them a letter. Visit them. You see them sitting down someplace eating coffee or drinking coffee and eating a sandwich, just walk over and plop down and say, hey, I got a question for you. And let them know. Let them know that you got a voice and you're concerned. There's a lot we can do just by doing something. And get Ed Temple's book, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. Ed, tell us where we...
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay.
I'm here.
Tell us one more time where we can get this book.
Yeah, the book's all over ChristianBooks.com, Barnes & Noble. You can go to Chegg. You can go to textbooks.com. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Thrift Books. You can go to Abbey Books. It's all over the place. Just Google. If you just Google "Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation," you'll find all kinds of places, including Target and Walmart, to sell it online.
And if you can't remember any of that stuff, call me, email me, contact me. I'll tell you where you can go get the book. How's that? Ed, thank you, buddy. You're a good friend. You're a good man. You got my number. You holler at me. Will you do that?
Okay. I so appreciate it. Thank you so much. You do a great job. I love listening to you as much as I can.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. And I'll put you in contact with those people. That's too much. Are you there? There's just so much. That twirly bird. There we go. We're back. that thing's fought us all night long. I know what the problem is, but nonetheless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen. Let me check my schedule here. It's so jumbled up, I don't know what day it is, where I'm coming, where I'm going. No show tomorrow night. Wednesday afternoon. We're going to have Scott Slay and the Rail out of Denver, Colorado. We're having an afternoon show. 2:45 will be on. 2:45 Wednesday. And who knows, we might come back on Wednesday night too. So you never know. Scott Slay and the Rail, him and his band will be with us. We'll feature their music. We'll interview them. We'll talk to them on Thursday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Ladies, afternoon at the farm. We're going to have Tracy Chyhart, 3 o'clock. Tracy is a very busy lady. She, too, is out of Denver, Colorado. Friday the 13th, and it's going to be a full moon. Now, can you just imagine? Wow. Jeffrey Dallet's going to be with us. He, too, is out of the Denver area. You say, where are these people coming from? Well, It just so happened that somebody put the George Espenlaub Show in the combo, what they call the Colorado Musical Business Organization's newsletter. They put us in there, and people's calling, and Tracy's booking them. And all the credit goes to her because she's the one who did it. And as they come, we put them on. We'll play their music. So we got a full week. Ahead of us. But please, don't forget, pray for Mr. Ed Temple and get his book, Escape from Uncle Sam's Plantation. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got things to do, places to go. I imagine you do too. So until Wednesday afternoon, 2:45 p.m., Wednesday afternoon. May God bless you and keep you right in the center of his hand. And there goes the whirly bird one more time.